This is Stars and Scopes with your friend Uma, updated every new and full moon with guidance based on planetary transits in the current sky and extra support from tarot. For accuracy, take a look at your rising sign first if you know it, and do feel free to listen to your sun, moon and rising if you'd like the full picture. If you're interested in your birth chart, check out the readings page at umaruby.com. And if you'd like to support the work, head over to buymeacoffee.com/umaruby and you can buy me a coffee. Finally, if you're a visual learner, look up Uma Ruby Tarot on YouTube and you can watch and learn. Okay, let's take a look. Hello Scorpio and Scorpio rising, welcome to your horoscope for the full moon in Aries, happening on Monday, October the 10th at 7:55 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. So the night for your full moon ritual will be probably on Sunday night. It'll be near full, that moon. She only gets full in the AM of Monday, so the night before definitely you'll have enough lunar light, you'll have enough energy running through you to be able to let go of some of your worries, maybe some of your rhythms and rituals and habits that may have been holding you in place up until now. There's a real brightness that I'm getting from your tarot, Scorpio. And I think that it might be a nice thing to mention. We'll mention Libra. So this full moon's playing out in your 6th house, which is the physical reality, the day-to-day, the daily ritual and rhythm, your connection to your body and your health and all of that kind of stuff. The sun's still lighting up your unconscious realm, your dreamland, your ticket to what's beyond the veil. Venus has also entered that space. I'm wondering who's coming to you when you're sleeping and who you've been dreaming about. And is there an offer of beauty and love? Is there messages that you're downloading as you sleep or as you meditate or even dissociate, all the different ways that we extract ourselves from the 6th house, the rhythm, the ritual, the daily task? Is there something in that daydream that is feeling optimistic, is feeling quite bright to you at the moment? Who is this person? Who is this person that is shiny and gold? Who is this individual that holds a potential for you? What kind of attraction, what kind of fire, what kind of spark do they offer you in your unconscious dreamland? And how can that feeling, it might just be a feeling, it might just be a sort of remembrance in your body. When you wake up, you're sort of like, oh, I feel so good after that dream. I wonder why that was. How can that inform your daily rhythm? And what needs to, in what ways can this full moon be an invitation for you to take a little bit better care of yourself and be a bit kinder to your vessel, to your body, and to reinvigorate the ritual, to reincorporate yourself into a rhythm that is sustainable and is activated? If you've been feeling any kind of stagnation or any kind of sort of hiding under a safety blanket, that's all right. That's so natural, and that's something that I think a lot of people have been kind of in at the moment, under that weighted blanket, under that kind of comfortable habit. But I feel that there's someone that's in your headspace, actually not in your headspace, in your dream space. That's separate to the head, isn't it? That's somewhere else. There's someone in your unconscious that is rapidly becoming consciously available to you. They've got a lot to share with you, and there's a lot of reconciliation I can feel here. There's a fixity. There's a holding on to perhaps rhythms past. You know, not every habit that we have is a bad one. Sometimes they regulate us. Sometimes they carry us through. And I can see that you're sort of holding on to some sense of reality, to some version of, you know, a version of yourself, or a version of your position in the village. But that's been going through a big transformation too, hasn't it? The person that you were is maybe not so interesting to you, or doesn't hold the same weight, or there's a different way to do it. And I think that this full moon probably offers you quite an opportunity to roll with the changes, with the shifts, to really go with it. I can see that your public self, I can see that your community, your idea of humanity, your sort of like your position in the community, your identity in that space, what your community is, you belong to this community, that community, the other one. This is where the change is happening. This is where the information is coming through. And this is where there's almost maybe like an offering potentially from someone in that community. Maybe they're in your physical realm, but they've also found their way into your unconscious realm too. Perhaps you're dreaming about them. And this signifier, it doesn't have to be anything kind of like so literal, but what this individual, what this Queen of Fire represents to you can be really incorporated into the new version of yourself, or the new offerings that you have, or the new service that you want to commit to. I feel that, yeah, like there's so much change and there's so much activation at this full moon. I really feel that it's some sort of like tipping point, or some sort of like it's like we're all sort of like sitting on the end of the diving board, and we're about to jump off into the new experience, the new existence, the new colors and shapes of what life can be. And I think that there's something kind of, I don't know if you've been disillusioned with community, or if that's just a bit of a weight for you to bear. I don't know if you've been feeling too responsible for the well-being of others, or if you've been living through, like your identity has been attached to your public self, and like what that has to do with this sense of community and environment. There seems to be a lot of like labors, or a lot of responsibility that maybe you've put on yourself. There's definitely a mode of being that you are tied to at the moment, and that you feel that you kind of need to exist as, otherwise you'll let somebody down, or you'll let the group down, or they expect this of me, so what else am I going to do? There's that fixity, there's that holding on to the past, that holding on to the ways that you used to roll around, or you used to exist, or you used to relate to folks. But this Queen of Wands, this fire child, this fire starter, they've got you all up in your head, and you're sort of like, oh, that's an option. That's an offering. That's a potential. I could do that. I never thought that I could do that before. I didn't think that that was what I was good at, but it's in me. There's some ice to be melted at this full moon for you, Scorpio. Whenever I think of Scorpio, I think of fixed water, which is ice, isn't it? So there is a rigidity. There is like a immovability sometimes in your emotional body as well. Like there is definitely, sometimes the emotions can feel so overbearing that we mustn't flow with them. We must keep them frozen. But at an Aries full moon, I don't know. There's too much fire. There's too much fresh, new, bright fire that might melt some of that ice, that might melt some of that perception of that perception of yourself that you have. One thing that I've learned about life is that, gosh, it changes. Gosh, it moves around, and gosh, isn't it wonderful to come into contact or come into relationship with an old friend and notice and absorb and celebrate just how much they've changed. It's beautiful. I think that sometimes we can get too fixed in what is expected of us that we kind of can't move. And it takes a fire queen, it takes someone with a burning torch to help us remember that in fact we are made of water. I mean, Scorpio, you're a water sign. Like, you are all water, you are all emotions, you're all feeling. And water's best when it's moving. Water's best when it starts to flow, when it can move around. It's very important for it to be restrained and to be managed, and that's what you're really good at. But I wonder if you would allow some of this warmth in, because I'm looking at the sun too, and there's just so much sort of bearing down on this position or this identity or this way of thinking or fixity, perhaps in your daily rhythm, in your ritual, your habits, that is just waiting and longing and willing to be melted a bit, so it can start to flow, it can start to move, and it can start to manifest in a way that becomes an offering, it becomes a potential. You're going to have fun at this one, I think, Scorpio. You really are. You're going to have a lot of fun at this Aries full moon. I think a lot of us will have a lot of fun. I think that it might be good for you to really, as much as you can, kind of relish in the idea of melting some of that ice about you, some of that fixity. We need you to be fixed. You know, the fixed signs are so essential, like Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leo. We need that sort of assuredness, that confidence, that expertise. We need that about you. An Aries full moon is always a great invitation to be a bit reckless, to be a bit self-serving or a bit exploratory. That might be a really nice way to put it. You're in good company. I trust this queen. I trust this queen of fire. I really do. I think that she's got a nice guiding light for you. So let some of that rigidity melt off at this full moon, because there's going to be a lot that we're going to need to explore in 2 weeks at the solar eclipse in Scorpio. And hey, maybe that's why I've got the sun here. Maybe this full moon in Aries is actually amping you up for the relinquishment of control, the relinquishment of fixity, of staidness that you're going to have to give up at the solar eclipse in Scorpio. That's only 2 weeks away. I wonder what will happen for you there, Scorp. I wonder what parts of your soul or parts of the fabric of your being might be jolted. And I wonder if this Queen of Wands has anything to do with it. Maybe she does. Go with the fire at this full moon, Scorp. I think you've got, out of everyone, you've got a real invitation just to sort of let your hair down and to let some of that habitual ritual, let some of the habitual ritual fall away for a time, and see what happens when you work on passion, when you work on impulse, when you allow yourself to be a little bit guided by some of the steamier parts of your essence. That's your reading. As I said, I'll speak to you in 2 weeks at the solar eclipse in Scorpio. So Sun, Queen of Fire, Ace of Cups, I see it already. I know what might happen here. I won't say it yet. But do head over to umaruby.com and you can book yourself a birth chart reading with me. If you're wanting to know the difference and the relationship between your sun, moon and rising sign, I highly recommend you book the spirit reading. It's been the one that's been most popular over these last months, and it's gained some really beautiful traction. And I've got some really great direction as to where I can guide folks into exploring and coming to understand their birth chart. Remember, this is all just the very beginning of learning the language. You don't have to be an expert, and it's not something that you have to master in order to benefit from. Sometimes it's really nice just to sit with somebody and have them tell you all about you. And for that, I'm happy to do so. Until the solar eclipse, I love you, Scorpio, and I'll speak to you then. Bye.